You're absolutely right, Richard. It is a special, special event. We've been here at the Assembly Rooms, or the Fashion Museum has been here at the Assembly Rooms for 60 years. So we really wanted to do something special, but also something which I suppose draws on our past but looks to our future. And the Fashion Museum is all about our audience. It's all about the people who have come and enjoyed and will continue to enjoy the collection and the exhibitions for many, many years. And so what we wanted to do was completely sort of flip our selection and our exhibition rationale on its head. And rather than us coming up with a theme and an object list and a presentation, we wanted to open it wide and to say to everybody, what does fashion mean to you? We wanted to hear from everybody what fashion meant to them and how, I suppose, that importance resonated or had a connection with the Fashion Museum collection. So we threw our doors wide, and we particularly wanted to find people who might not have known about the Fashion Museum, who hadn't visited, who hadn't even necessarily thought of coming here. And we came up with the most fantastic bunch of co-curators. And we asked them all this question, what does fashion mean to them? And they all had a completely different take. And then we worked with them to explore different areas of the collection based on those, I suppose, based on those replies, based on what they were saying to us. And it was a really fabulous process. I think it was a fabulous process for us. It was great discovery.
We're standing in an area where a lot of comments have been added to the original boards. So these are people who visited and wanted to say to you what fashion means to them.
Yeah, absolutely, Richard, absolutely. You know, everybody who comes through here, and in fact we've got some visitors behind us here, you know, we invite them all to say, what does fashion mean to you? And you know, essentially, they're writing on the walls. Everybody is writing on the walls, you know, with these fabulous cards, fabulous stickers, and we have got so many brilliant, brilliant, brilliant comments, which is really exciting. How positive that fashion connects with so many people. It has such resonance with so many people, even with people who say, well, I'm not interested in fashion. You just drill down a little bit and yes, they are. And of course, that's when it connects in with the collection, with this amazing collection right here in Bath that will continue to grow, will continue to flourish. Because, hey, you know, fashion connects people.
This is running right through to the end of October and is obviously already proving very popular. There was a queue outside the door this morning. You've got an amazing packing up job to do at some point.
Certainly we have. The collection is vast. We have over 100,000 objects, most of which are located and stored right here on the Assembly Room site. We have secured some temporary accommodation, so we are starting to move the collection out of the building across this year. Exciting times, Richard.
I'm hoping you're going to tell me you're going to see this through and you'll be opening the door at the old post office when the Fashion Museum reopens.
We have a fabulous future ahead of us. You know, there's some working out to do, but what is so exciting is that this exhibition has connected us to a whole new set of people. And all of those people are going to come on the journey with us. And I think that's so exciting. That's so exciting.
Well, I've come into the exhibition space now, and it's a bit of a race against time because, Fleur, we've got a party of school kids hot on our trail. You curated this whole thing. Were you surprised at the range of objects that people chose, and how different were they in what they liked about the artifacts, the costumes that are stored here?
It was a really lovely process of discovery, I think, working with our choosers. We have 9 choosers and 10 display cases in this gallery, so we have a chooser in each case. And they did select a huge variety of pieces, but I think what was particularly exciting were the reasons behind their selection. And some of these objects have never been on display before. Some of them have been and are very popular pieces of the Fashion Museum collection, but the reasons in which they were chosen by our choosers are completely different to perhaps why I would choose them, why you would choose them, why someone else would. So this idea of a real personal story attached to each of them is what's so exciting in here.
Were you moved by any of the displays?
Absolutely. I think because this is all about our choosers and their personal feelings towards these objects, we really got a sense of who our choosers were, what their concerns were, what their interests were. And you're able to see their objects through their eyes. And some of those stories are very personal to them.
I'm talking to you alongside the display chosen by Clive and reading over your shoulder. He's an artist from Frome.
Yes.
Clive has chosen quite an interesting object, an 1750s menswear banyan. Could you tell me about this and the reasons for him choosing it?
Clive's selection was a really interesting one because Clive, as far as I know, had never visited the Fashion Museum. And Clive came to the museum as an artist, as a painter, and he was particularly interested in how artists throughout history have depicted clothing, how they have tackled the challenge of representing different textiles, different techniques, different materials. So what we did with Clive is we used the paintings that are on display in the assembly rooms upstairs on the ground floor in the octagon room. We used those as our inspiration, and we looked at the clothing that was depicted in those portraits, and we went into the collection and we looked for similar garments. And this coat was one of the pieces that was very similar to the painting that's on display in the back of the case, which you can see upstairs in its original form in the octagon. And this is a banyan, also called a nightgown, and this is a piece of more informal dress worn in the home, somewhere between formal and informal. The home was still a public space, so you would still be meeting people, hosting people. So this was the sort of garment you would wear in your home to perhaps meet people and to host them. But this was a really beautiful, beautiful textile. And what Clive was particularly drawn to was the shine of the waistcoat underneath the banyan in the painting, and the way that the painter had focused in on different elements of the textiles.
And showing the skill of the artist, I suppose, in getting that sort of sheen on the silk. Are all the exhibits old, 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, or do we have anything that's contemporary?
We do. On this side of me, this is the selection from Bath Spa University. We worked with a group of fashion design students. And for the Bath Spa students, we decided to focus in on the Dress of the Year collection at the Fashion Museum. This is our programme that's been running since the museum first opened, and every year we invite someone from the fashion industry, often a journalist, a fashion writer, to select an ensemble, a piece that they think represents the year in fashion or was particularly interesting or exciting. And so the fashion students looked back over the Dress of the Year collection, and they made this selection of, I believe it's 8 pieces. And these run from, chronologically, they are running from one every decade, actually, they selected. So from the 1960s right up to this 2 blue ensembles from 2015 by a menswear designer.
And would a display like this show how much fashion tastes have changed?
I think it does, and what I found particularly exciting about working with the fashion students is that they were very interested in how we could present these garments, not just the garments themselves, but the way that we would display them. So they requested certain types of mannequins, they were very excited about the potential to swap the genders of the mannequins and to style the garments in different ways. So a number of the pieces have been displayed on mannequins of the opposite gender to how they were originally worn. For example, the blue, electric blue suit in the middle of the case. This is a Paul Smith menswear ensemble from the 1990s, and the student that selected that piece, she was very keen that we display that on a female mannequin and really look at how the pieces could be worn. And I think by doing that, we're really bringing those pieces up to date and tying them in with current concerns and interests for our fashion students.
Sorry to interrupt you, Fleur. The amazing thing is, at some point in the future, at the Fashion Museum's new location, who knows, some of those Bath Spa students may be the fashion designers whose costume of the year ends up being on display.
Absolutely. It was really exciting to work with fashion designers, not just of the future, but of the now. You know, they're right on the brink of starting their careers. So to work with them and to get involved with what they were excited by, what their concerns were for the fashion industry was great, and to be able to interpret some of our pieces right back through to the 1960s with them was a completely new way of looking at some of these objects.
Fleur, it's sad in a way that we're going to be without the Fashion Museum for a few years, but what an exciting future it has.
Absolutely, and we hope that this exhibition really sets out our vision for the future of the Fashion Museum and the huge variety of objects that we have and the variety of ways in which we can share them and interpret them.